Welcome to your deep dive. This time we're, I guess you could say, diving headfirst into all the latest news in Spain. We've got a ton of RTVE articles you send over.
Mhm.
Seems like you're really interested in how the government and the People's Party are, well, clashing is maybe the best word.
Yeah.
And of course, that Koldo case, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then all those protests in the Canary Islands really makes you think that those are issues that go way beyond just Spain. So, expert speaker, where should we even start?
Well, you're right. Everything's connected. Think of Spanish society as a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
You've got political corruption scandals like bubbling away, and then questions about, judicial integrity start to pop up.
Yeah.
And now you bring in the heat from all the citizen unrest, and boom, it's getting serious. High stakes.
So, I guess that means no siesta for Spanish politics.
Nope.
Okay, so our listener is probably thinking, what is this Koldo case everyone's talking about? It's a huge scandal. Basically, there are these corruption allegations against the Socialist Party, the PSOE, the ruling party, and some people are even saying that Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez might be involved.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. The People's Party, the PP, they're saying that José Luis Ábalos, a former PSOE minister, was involved in, get this, illegal financing and influence peddling.
No.
Oh, yeah. And they're even going after Prime Minister Sanchez, saying he must have known what was going on.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's all based on an actual police report. It's not just rumors.
And they didn't just send a strongly worded letter. I mean, the PP actually filed a lawsuit.
They did. They were serious about this.
But the PSOE isn't backing down either. They're calling it a baseless attack, politically motivated, a smear campaign.
They are.
Sounds messy.
And it gets even more,
Oh, boy.
remember those massive corruption scandals a few years back?
Mm-hmm.
The Gürtel and Pernica cases?
Mm-hmm.
Those really hit the PP hard.
Right.
Well, the PSOE is bringing those up now. Like,
Wait.
they're saying, hey, remember when you guys were corrupt? Yeah, so maybe don't judge us too harshly.
Throwing some shade. Okay, so we have accusations going back and forth, but what does it all mean for the average person in Spain?
That's the million-dollar question right there.
Right. Are people tuning it all out as just more political theater?
It's hard to say, but this constant back and forth, it erodes trust.
Definitely.
People start to think, are any of these politicians actually looking out for us? Or are they just in it for themselves?
Yeah, it's like a constant drip.
Yeah.
Drip of scandal, and it's like weakening the foundation of their democracy.
Yeah. And speaking of scandals, just when you think it couldn't get any crazier, there's this investigation into Spain's Attorney General.
Now, this is where I was like, wait, what?
Right.
An attorney general being investigated? That's unheard of.
Yeah, it's extremely unusual.
So what does that tell us about the state of Spanish politics?
It really shows you how divided everyone is. Everyone's questioning each other's motives, and those checks and balances, they're definitely being tested right now.
Wow.
And to make it even more interesting, the case involves the partner of Madrid's president, who also happens to be a big name in the PP. Coincidence? I don't think so.
It's like a TV show, but real.
Totally.
Corruption at the highest levels of government, a possible constitutional crisis, and, oh yeah, an election coming up. It's a lot.
It is. And we haven't even gotten to the Canary Islands yet, which
Yeah.
is another layer of complexity. And
Right. Our listeners specifically sent us those articles.
yeah,
It's about, well, mass tourism, right?
more like mass tourism gone wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, the Canary Islands are beautiful, no doubt. But imagine paradise, and then imagine it being destroyed because it's so popular.
That's a great den.
Not for the locals. They're being priced out of their own homes. Resources are stretched thin.
Wow.
And it's like their culture is being, like, Disney-fied right in front of them.
So it's not just the beaches and volcanoes that are making headlines in the Canary Islands.
No.
It's those protests.
Right.
Thousands of people.
Yeah.
And they've got this slogan, Canarias tiene un limit.
The Canary Islands have a limit.
Exactly.
And it's not just them. You have
Yeah.
the same thing from the Greek islands, even Venice.
Wow. So it's really widespread.
It is. At the core, it's about taking back control, making sure these amazing places are still livable.
For the people who actually live there.
Exactly.
Because right now, it doesn't sound like it is. High rents, jobs that only exist because of tourists,
Right.
and then this fear that they're losing their culture.
It's a real concern.
Like their home is slipping away. And the thing is, it's gone beyond just the islands now.
It has. You're seeing mainland protests, too, and the politicians, they can't ignore it anymore.
It's not just a local issue now.
No, it's about the future of Spain. What kind of country do they want to be?
And those elections are coming up fast.
They are.
Do you think these protests will actually affect how people vote?
They could.
Mm.
especially for those who feel like the main parties don't listen to them.
Right.
Remember that huge protest in Madrid? The one demanding Prime Minister Sanchez resign.
Yeah, that was big.
The PP and Vox, that's the right-wing party, they organized it.
Right.
But it really showed how frustrated people are.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the Koldo case anymore.
No, it was about everything. The economy, how much it costs to just live.
That feeling that things are going downhill.
And that's where it gets interesting, see?
Oh, how so?
The PP, they see this as their chance.
I see, yeah.
They want to be the ones who fix everything, bring back the good old days, you know.
But is that really believable?
That's the question, isn't it?
I mean, the PP has its own history with corruption.
True, and their economics haven't exactly helped the average person.
Right.
But they're hoping people will be nostalgic, that they'll want to go back to a simpler time.
But then there's Vox, too.
Oh yeah, they're waiting in the wings.
What's their play here?
They're targeting the people who feel like the system's totally broken, the ones who like that nationalist message.
It's a dangerous mix, isn't it?
It is. Economic worry, political instability.
And then a feeling that Spain's losing its identity.
That's what makes those extreme voices so appealing.
And if they get into power...
Could be a big shift. Imagine a government with Vox calling the shots, rolling back social progress, being tougher on immigration.
And turning their backs on the world.
Potentially, yeah. It really shows you that elections matter.
They do. But going back to the Koldo case for a sec,
Yeah.
is that just a distraction now, or could it actually bring down the government?
It's more than a distraction.
Yeah.
Even if Prime Minister Sanchez is innocent, these constant scandals hurt.
Yeah. Makes it look like they care more about staying in power than actually governing.
Exactly. It's a political thriller, but the stakes are incredibly high.
They are. So as we get closer to this election, what should we be watching for? What are the clues about which way things will go?
Keep your eye on the polls. Can the PSOE recover? Or are the PP and Vox going to surge?
Okay.
And listen to how they talk about the important stuff. Is it all about corruption, the economy, or a mix of everything?
And what about the Canary Islands? Will we see more protests, maybe even on the mainland? Or will they die down?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
If the PSOE wants to stay in charge, they've got to address those issues.
Right.
They need to convince people they have a plan for the cost of living, for housing.
Everything, really.
Yeah, for those challenges of mass tourism. And right now, that's a tough sell. People don't trust them. They're disillusioned.
It's like they're walking a tightrope, trying to keep everyone happy while also holding on to power.
Exactly.
Oh, and don't forget that Attorney General investigation.
Oh, right.
That's still going on. Could make people trust the justice system even less.
It could. Be interesting to see if it leads to any big changes.
A lot to think about. It's like watching a political thriller in real time.
It is. And we're not even at the climax yet.
I know, but that's what makes these deep dives so interesting, right?
For sure. It's about making those connections
Right.
between things that seem totally separate.
It all comes back around. It really does feel like a thriller sometimes.
It does.
But this is real life, you know?
All
We're
right.
talking about real people, their jobs, their homes,
Yeah,
their hopes for the future.
exactly. And that's what makes it so different from just a TV show or something.
Right.
This is about the heart of Spain, you know?
Mm.
What kind of country do they want to be?
Mhm.
Modern, looking outward, or maybe more focused on the past, more nationalistic.
Because those paths lead in very different directions. And it's not just Spain facing these choices, right?
Not at all.
All over Europe, even here, we see these tensions.
It's a global thing.
It's like the whole world is watching, waiting to see what happens next.
And it comes down to this, really.
That.
Those who believe in working together
Right.
globally, who
Yeah.
care about social justice, the environment, versus those left behind by all the changes.
Oh,
They want things to be like they used to be.
simpler times.
Exactly. And they're drawn to those leaders who promise easy solutions, even if those solutions are, well, maybe not so realistic.
And in Spain, this is all coming to a head at the elections.
Big time.
It's not just about who wins, but what direction the country takes.
Exactly.
So for our listener out there, I think the key takeaway is this.
That's that.
It's easy to get lost in the details of every little scandal or protest.
It is.
But don't miss the bigger picture. What are the underlying trends? What connects everything? Because what's happening in Spain is just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
That's a great way to put it.
It's about democracy, globalization, all these big, important ideas.
And how we deal with fear and hope.
Exactly. A lot to think about. which is always the goal of our deep dives.
We don't have all the answers, that's for sure.
We don't, but we want to make people curious.
Yes.
Give them some background, encourage them to figure things out for themselves.
Because the best listeners are the ones who keep thinking, keep learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So we went from those high-level corruption cases all the way to the Canary Islands.
Quite a journey.
We talked about social unrest, political games. It's a lot.
It is.
But I think at its core, it's about a country trying to decide what it wants to be.
Trying to find its way.
And as always, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
Keep exploring.
Keep asking those tough questions.
And keep diving deep.
Until next time, stay curious.